Welcome to episode 150, everybody. I'm Richard Hunter.
And I'm Frank Mir.
He is the two-time UFC heavyweight champion. What would you say about me?
You're my Jiminy Cricket.
That's right. That's right.
You're my conscience.
I tell Frank to follow his conscience.
You know, like when you go to do something really bad?
Yeah.
That little voice in your head? I wasn't born with one, but now I met him. I always tell people, like, I make that joke because it enables us to go and fight and do crazy shit, but then sometimes we do crazy shit.
Yeah.
And now I got you.
That's what I'm here for. That's what I specialize in. That and podcasting. We have a action-packed show for you today because we got a lot of ground to cover. We got some fights to talk about. We got some world issues to solve. First, though, Frank,
Climate change isn't getting solved anytime soon.
No, it's not. I'm feeling those effects. Before we get to any of that, though, Frank, solve a few people's problems who might be suffering from the damnable plague of low testosterone by telling them about lowtnation.com.
Well, hey, look, I'm getting up to 40, and so I'm starting to notice my friends and I, we can sit there and, you're just not as able to heal and get out of bed like you used to. One thing I always suggest to all the guys is like, hey, go get tested. And, go talk to Low T Nation's a phenomenal company that basically walks you and your primary physician through the whole gambit of steps to go through and really make sure that you have an education, understand what this process entails, making sure that you get the proper testing, the proper, readout on where you're at. And then once that's done, they have a great system of getting you the medication that's going to be necessary for you to live a much more fulfilling and active life. Look, man, you can see it now with the way the weather is, the hurricanes. Modern science has made the world sometimes not the best of places. We have farm-fished salmon now. The air is not as clean. The water you have to buy in bottles. So if science is going to take a few things away from me, I'm going to take advantage of anything that science can give back to me and extend my life and make me a much healthier and smarter individual.
Easiest thing in the world to do. All you do is go to lowtnation.com. There's a phone number right there. Give them a call. Tell them you're a phone booth fighting listener. They are listeners to the podcast just like yourself, and they're going to be so happy to hook you up and help you. Now, what you do is they will coordinate with a lab in your area.
Yep.
There's some simple lab work that gets done, and then they take it from there. You will be qualified as a candidate for treatment, and then the product is shipped right to your door.
The best aspect of it, besides, getting the right medicine in the green zone that, we had Brandon and Jason on earlier, Dr. Weeks, talking about this hormonal medication where people think that, well, it's not a situation where with one pill works, two pill works better. It's like, no, there's an ideal level you want to be at. So being tested and having that procedure done, they know exactly where to have each individual at. But then once that's done and established, to maintain those levels, you don't have to make, I have friends that also do youth rejuvenation clinics and go to their doctor, but a lot of times, they don't let that medication out of the office. So you have to make an appointment, go down to the doctor, get a shot once a week. Come on, man. There's no way that, every week, once a week, you're going to maintain that type of schedule where you're going to go down and see the doctor. So this way, they ship it right to the door every month when it's necessary to come again, and you're good to go. You administer your own medication, and that way you can, one of the most important aspects of not only getting your levels up to the right optimal spot, but as he had said, Brandon and Dr. Weeks were on the show, maintaining consistency. You don't want to be, if anybody knows, their wife gets off birth control, there can be a little bit of a hairy moment.
Yeah.
So the same thing can happen to a guy. You get the proper medication, your levels are right. No doctor in the world will tell you to get off medication once you're on it and just cold turkey. So that's where the consistency of having it delivered at your door every day really makes it optimal.
lowtnation.com and tell them Phone Booth Fighting sent you. This podcast also brought to you by Earth's Brew. Plant-based nirvana, relaxation, fusing the best of all worlds, health, taste, efficacy, and experience. We always have the box of Earth's Brew sitting right here on the table in the Phone Booth Fighting bunker, and it's not just a prop. There's actual Earth's Brew packets
what's left
in
from
here.
You're not handing out to some of our
Exactly,
guests.
but I was going to say, because guests come in the bunker, and one of the lovely parting gifts they get are some packets of Earth's Brew, so we're going to have to replenish the supply. But this stuff, 15 calories per pack. That's it. No artificial flavors, sweeteners, nothing like that. 100% plant-based, so it's good for a vegan like me, or you do the keto diet or paleo or any of that kind of stuff. It fits with all of that. It is an all-natural, plant-based way to relax. You mix a little bit of that powder up in some water, Frank, and it really makes the perfect end to a long, stressful day.
No, and I've actually been using it a lot more because in the past, I have a rough day of traveling or training. Having a glass of red wine late at night can relax you. And not that I have given up drinking a glass of red wine, but as I'm getting older, I notice sometimes if I drink too late at night, empty stomach, you get the heartburn. And with the Earth's Brew, I get the same relaxation. It kind of tells my body it's time to call it quits and not keep running things through my brain and trying to solve whatever issue that I've brought up at the moment. And, and get into that mode to get a good night's sleep, which part of being just healthy, whether you're an athlete or not, is, restful night's sleep.
Go to earthsbrew.com right now. Enter the promo code PhoneBooth. And get 10% off all orders at checkout. That is an offer exclusive to Phone Booth Fighting listeners. Earthsbrew.com, promo code PhoneBooth. Save 10% and tell Joe and Jonathan over at Earth's Brew that Frank and Richard sent you. We appreciate them supporting Phone Booth Fighting.
Did I tell you what I discovered the other day?
What's that?
It's said to not exceed 3 packages in 24 hours.
Yeah, you just discovered that?
No, the other day I didn't.
Oh.
I want to test that out.
Yeah. I mean, I don't...
You got to push the limits.
Yeah, I don't think anything horrible will happen, but...
you don't think it'll be like, what was it, Frank the Tank from Old School?
You're going streaking in the neighborhood? Yeah, no, I don't think so.
No funny ambient stories.
Yeah. Hey, why is there a picture of you wearing only a tap-out hoodie and no pants cooking in your kitchen? I just saw it.
Oh, I thought you were making a joke about me being on something, but no.
No. It's in like your foyer.
Yeah, my wife took that picture because I used to never wear clothes.
Uh-huh.
Like, notoriously, like, I don't care if you came over. And, you and Travis, if this was 10 years ago, I would be sitting here naked.
Wow.
Like,
boy, it's a good thing Tap Out sent you a hoodie, I guess. But they...
So I think that time it was a little cold, and my lower body doesn't really get very cold, but I put a top on.
Yeah,
that was my equivalent of getting dressed. So that's pretty much how I walked around the house.
Oh, okay.
And just that my friends and family had to get used to the fact that if you come to my house,
yeah,
it's my home. I'm naked.
Yeah. All right.
It just feels good. Flip flops, no clothes. That's maybe why I like the kilt so much.
Yeah, maybe so.
It's a nice in between. I don't have to offend anybody.
Yeah.
At the same time, I still got that freedom of movement and,
Wow. So that picture wasn't even a one-off.
No, that was actually more clothes than I usually wear.
Okay. Hey, we're about to talk some fights here. I do want to put the word out. I am looking, and by I mean we, Frank and myself and Travis, we are looking for graphic artists. If there is, I've got some new T-shirts that I want us to do, some new graphics, things like that, and we need some artists to realize those visions. So if you're out there, if you would like to work with us, and this is a paying gig, but it would be the kind of thing where we're corresponding over email. Hey, here's our idea. Sketch something out, send it back to us. Does this look like what we're thinking, et cetera, till we get it right. Hit us up. We had a great experience with the artist over in England that did our Phone Booth Fighting logo for us, and he'll do some more stuff for us as well. He also did the vintage fight poster logo that's on your T-shirt right now, Frank. He did both of those. But I would like to have a couple of different guys to choose from, a couple of different looks, things like that. So hit us up if you are a graphic artist that would be interested in working with us. Hit us up at phoneboothfighting@gmail.com. Maybe put a link to some of your stuff in there, and we will talk. Phoneboothfighting@gmail.com.
You should have told Jennifer this too. Her uncle and her cousins are all...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Uncle Eddie and stuff.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, he is? Okay.
Well, no, he's an engineer for Boeing, so he builds planes, but very adept at, some of the hats I have that say Frank Mir on them.
Yeah.
Those are all his designs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he used to make sweatshirts for the fights and stuff.
Oh, cool. I wish I could do that. I can't.
No, he's very artistic.
Yeah.
You see him on his property building stuff. He got one of the fish, and I don't remember what species, not much of a fisherman, a trout or something, a good size. And so what he did was he laid it like in a plaster and then like came back and then filled it with cement and so then painted it and stuff. So it sits on this outdoor grill that he built out there in the middle of the woods on his property.
And sings "Don't Worry, Be Happy"?
No, it doesn't move. But it's a cool design. When you walk up, at first you have to go like, wait a minute, is that? No, it's not real. He actually just painted it, colored, designed it, like just, you know.
All right, very nice. Well, anyway, we need to add a few artists to our community. So if you're out there, hit us up. And T-shirts like the one Frank is wearing and like the logo that hangs here in the Phone Booth Fighting bunker, those T-shirts are available at phoneboothfighting.com in the merchandise section. All right, Frank, fight-related stories. This one happened over the weekend and kind of flew under everybody's radar because it was competing with the Gennady Golovkin Canelo Alvarez fight. But Luke Rockhold, former UFC middleweight champion, took on former two-division World Series of Fighting champion David Branch in a contenders fight in Pittsburgh. Branch taps to Rockhold strikes in the second round. Rockhold was favored in that fight. That was the expected outcome. But I wanted to talk for a second about why that's an important fight for a guy like Rockhold. Because here's a guy who wins the title, gets upset by Bisping, right? Mm-hmm. And then all the talk shifts to Bisping against GSP, GSP's coming back, and, because of kind of an unfortunate set of circumstances, Luke Rockhold gets, kind of takes a promotional back seat a little bit. He's a little bit out of the spotlight at that point, and he gets a fight like this against a guy that a lot of people believe he is supposed to beat. Boy, sometimes these fights are the riskiest.
They are. That's why I always took fights in my career. I think people look back and they go, man, you took this fight, took that fight. To me, fighting a dangerous guy with a name, look, man, at our level, anybody, you're fighting the 1% of the guys that actually train in the world. I'm not talking about the 1% of the world. 1% of the athletes that are actually martial artists are competing at that level.
Yeah.
So anybody can get caught, man. It's, it's a game. I mean, and that's something I think a lot of people have a hard time mentally wrapping their brain around is like, you can not make a mistake in a fight, do everything right and still lose.
Yeah.
It just, that's how the game of fighting is, especially at that level. And so I've always been more nervous and definitely I'm tighter and a little bit more apprehensive when I fight guys that I know that, you have to beat this guy. I mean, whereas I fought somebody where it's like, well, that guy's really good. I mean, you guys fight each other, you might not win. I always found those fights easier. It's like, oh, okay, well, I got really nothing to lose. The pressure's off of me.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's like, well, I remember the Todd Duffy fight scared the shit out of me because so much was expected that this guy was up and coming, this will be the signification of basically my downslide that losing to Overeem or losing to, an Andre Arlovski or losing to, Daniel Cormier as he was a heavyweight, didn't really signify the end of a career. These guys have beat lots of guys, but losing to somebody else, it's like, I'm fighting so-and-so. And they're like, who?
Yeah.
That's a bit of a problem.
And sometimes those fights are, everybody notices when a fighter is maybe on the cusp of retirement and could this be their last fight? And if they lose, should they keep fighting? There's always that conversation. But the conversation that a lot of times gets overlooked is the one where somebody is considered top 5, top 10 contender, but if they lose the wrong fight at the wrong time, a conversation starts where it's like, oh, well, yeah, they're going to keep fighting, but maybe we don't really consider them a title contender anymore.
Yeah, and those fights, that's why you'll see guys like a Rockhold could have just held out because, once this fight gets, taken care of, that he got pushed back for GSP to fight, for the title, Rockhold pretty much be the most logical explanation, I would think, for the next title shot. So, there is a thought process. You see guys that, can hold out and no, I'm not going to take a fight because I'm really sitting in the driver's seat right now as one of the number one contenders. I'll let this play out, and then I'm going to be the eventual challenger. Where you see guys that are more brave and probably to the dismay of their management, go ahead and take fights and go ahead and fight a guy that really is not going to improve their status as a contender, maybe solidify it a little bit more, just reassure everybody that, yes, I'm the next in line. But with a loss, could really, derail their momentum. And Rockhold really, that's why I have a lot of respect for the guy. I feel for him. It sucks. He should be the next one fighting for the title. I don't really think, Bisping caught him with a shot. He did catch him and finish him off. So, but it wasn't like a dismantling where he just, completely outschooled him. If they fight again, I'd probably bet on Rockhold. After watching their 2 fights, looking at what it took for each guy to win the fight and what skills they bring to the table, I think Rockhold would be successful in the 3rd fight. But that's not what fighting is about anymore. I think people need to get that out of their mind, that being the better fighter means you get the title shot. And that's not the case. Ever since, the days of Brock Lesnar coming on, it showcased that it's not necessarily the best guy who gets the title shot. It's whoever sells the most tickets. And, obviously, usually that is a combination that coincides with, well, my success as a fighter is making what people like me and want to see me fight. But sometimes there's extra factors that don't necessarily equate to fighting. Like, I honestly don't think that if you were to have GSP come back right now and fight Rockhold and the winner gets to fight for the title, GSP ain't beating Rockhold. Do you know what I mean? Like, he just isn't. You know what I mean? Rockhold is a long, true middleweight that is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, a very avid striker, trains with guys that are high-level wrestlers there at the AKA, so I don't think that GSP is going to do anything to him that he hasn't seen. Much worse from better wrestlers who are even stronger and bigger. But that's not the issue. The issue is, in the UFC matchmakers' minds, is like, well, who makes the most money for us? Who sells the most tickets? Oh, GSP coming out of retirement, fighting for the middleweight title. It's unwarranted. And really, it's not. If you go upon the purest of a sport, that wouldn't happen in any other sport. I guess other sports are also more promoter orientated, but that's what this is it's a situation where it's all about just selling tickets, and like it or dislike it, but at least acknowledge what it is.
Yeah. Case in point, George St. Pierre was able to jump the line, get the fight with Bisping, be taken out of that fight after he wasn't ready to fight when they wanted him to fight, then re-entered the fight once that got cleared up, and now it's on again. So it's a fight that they, from a promotional standpoint, they're absolutely insistent on making. And, guys like Luke Rockhold, or, for that matter, Robert Whittaker, before he was dealing with some injury, if he weren't dealing with injury right now, he'd be sitting on the sidelines waiting just the same.
Yeah.
And I guess if you got to be injured, now's a good time to do it while this whole thing gets worked out.
Yeah, and Bisping did that basically himself. I realize his knee injury, but I think that it doesn't take the average fan to realize, like, hey, wait a minute. When it was time to fight Romero, your knee was hurting. Then when it was time to fight GSP, you were able to take the fight. And then when it became Romero, your knee hurts. It's like, wait a minute. So
yeah,
that's pretty convenient knee injury you have there, that it seems to like certain opponents better than others. And it's nothing against Bisping. He's a very good businessman trying to market himself and realizing, well, I have a better chance of winning this fight than I do of winning that fight. And also, too, not even just about winning the fight, the marketing behind fighting GSP would be a bigger payday for him, getting a cut of pay-per-view since he is a champ, and that's in his contract that he's going to get a percentage. I'm sure that he's thinking, okay, well, I might get 400,000 buys if I fight Romero, but if I fight GSP, we might be pushing 650, 700, maybe 750 buys.
Yeah,
it's not something that you sit there and fault a guy. It is what it is.
So Luke Rockhold does what he's supposed to do this weekend, and keeps himself in that conversation for a future middleweight title. Edmund Taverdian wants another fight for Ronda Rousey, and he wants her to fight Chris Cyborg. I don't think that's a good idea. I think that everything is where it's supposed to be right now. I think Ronda is basically retired, and she's with Travis Brown, and they got married, and they're going to have kids or something. And it's better off to just do that now, because Cyborg, I think that it's a scarier proposition talking about her fighting Ronda now than it was back when we used to have the conversation. Because I think when we had the conversation there, Cyborg was not in the UFC, so we didn't know how she was going to be faring against UFC caliber competition. Ronda was undefeated. we hadn't seen Ronda face off against a striker. Now we have Holly Holm. For that matter, the way Amanda Nunes knocked her out. I mean, we've seen what's happened there.
And Cyborg is much more of an Amanda Nunes style striker. She's going to march forward, blast her.
Yeah.
And, if she can maybe get the throw, there's a chance that she can get the fight to the ground. And then I think that, Ronda could still possibly, she has a high level, obviously world-class armbar grab. But, man, I just don't think she, if I felt that she was in the right place mentally, I would probably be on board. Like, yeah, come on back, redeem yourself. I mean, shit, man, you're not the first champ we've seen lose 2 fights in a row and come back. But I just don't think she's in that aspect of her life now. I think she's one of those individuals that has probably, she has trained since she's been a young girl, competed at the highest levels that you can, in judo, and then switched over now, competed at the highest levels of MMA. She's had a stellar career. I think she's accomplished a lot of things. I think that, I honestly think that she's extremely happy with Travis, and
seems like it.
And there's not that desire. I don't know. Like, I mean, look, man,
I'll tell you this.
There has to be a little bit of unhappiness in you. I mean, this is me as a fighter. When I'm completely happy is when I'm going to retire. But the fact that I'm not a happy person, that something about me when I go to the gym, I always leave a little angry about how I perform or how I did things. That is what enables me to crawl into a cage and fight people, because I'm trying to beat something inside me. I'm trying to push my threshold to the next level. I'm unhappy with where I am. When you're happy, you can't go fight. You know what I mean? Unless I corner you and you're walking out of your car and now you're fighting for survival. But as far as sportative fighting, there has to be some angst. There has to be some kind of chip on your shoulder, something in your gut that you want to prove the naysayers wrong. You want to prove yourself wrong. You want to exceed your own expectations. Whatever the case may be, there has to be some driving force, or just fighting is too grueling. The training regimen, the stress, the exposure, doing it just for shits and giggles, you're not going to be very good at it.
Yeah, she seems happier now than she did fighting.
I agree.
Like I remember
some of the posts. Those are the most legitimate, genuine smiles I've ever seen come from.
Yeah,
she's happy. I mean, and she's accomplished a lot. Let her go on to the next aspect of her life.
Yeah, because that last fight with Amanda Nunes, what I remember about that from the media perspective, of course, that was the whole blackout fight. She wasn't doing any media and all that. I felt like we were all inconveniencing her. Like we were kind of, she had to be there, but she didn't really want to be there kind of thing. And I never liked feeling like I'm imposing on someone. And it got to the point where it's like, oh, like, it's okay. You don't have to be here. Like, just go do the other things, And I think that's carried over to Travis, too. I mean, he seems like that he's more focused on being the other half of the Rousey-Brown couple, and that's fine. I mean, that's where they need to be. But Edmund, I think, Edmund doesn't have a lot of fighters in his stable, and so this was pointed out. I think Mike Bond wrote about this on MMA Junkie, that there's been money issues. I mean, documented tax issues, things like that. And, he was probably making decent money with Ronda Rousey, and there's nobody else out there right now that you're making the money with. And so he's wanting her to, have another fight. But I have this as an alternative option, because I'll tell you where I think Edmund would be great. Here's what's going to happen with Ronda Rousey. Next year, she's going to be in the WWE. They're already setting this up where Shayna Baszler, one of her, they call them the Four Horsewomen, her, Jessamine Duke, and Marina Shafir, the 3 female fighters, and Ronda call themselves the Four Horsewomen, patterned after the Four Horsemen, which was a pro wrestling stable of Ric Flair and 3 other guys, kind of a famous back in the 80s stable. The WWE has already signed Shayna Baszler to a contract. They had Ronda ringside a couple of weeks ago here in Las Vegas when Shayna wrestled. I think they're working toward Ronda Rousey making a huge celebrity appearance at WrestleMania next year. It's perfect. Ronda loves pro wrestling. She's a fan. She goes as a fan and watches this stuff. So I'll tell you where Edmund fits in. Edmund should be their bad guy manager. The guy who, when the referee has his back turned, he produces the foreign object from behind his back.
I think it has to be something alluding to his extensive vocabulary.
Yeah, that would be good. We can, pro wrestling fans love to buy into xenophobia. So there can be a whole thing about he can be like a refugee. Yeah, we don't. This is part of the advocating for building walls and things like pro wrestling fans love to buy into stuff like that. It's like in the 80s when they did the old, they'd have the Iron Sheik, they'd have the Russian guy, Volkov or whatever his name was, sing the Russian anthem and everybody would boo and jeer. That would be perfect for Edmund. I mean, he could be like always complaining to the referee, distracting the referee while something underhanded happens behind his back. Be awesome at that. And that pays well. Yeah. That guy Paul Heyman that follows Brock Lesnar around, that's his bad guy manager. That guy, he makes, I'm sure, really good money doing that in the WWE.
Yeah, and you're not forcing someone to go in there and fight and put their health on the line when their heart's not in it. I mean, and nothing. I mean, Ronda Rousey is completed more in the world of mixed martial arts than most of fighters, male or female, are ever going to accomplish. I don't think there's really anything left for her to do at this point besides getting hurt.
Edmund would be a great bad guy manager. So that's what I'm now advocating for. I'm in. Yeah. Let's see that.
I'd actually watch. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, let's see that happen in the WWE.
Because I like the little remixes they do on his audio when they corner the mic.
Yeah. Well, in pro wrestling, the best gimmicks, which is the term for like your character, your persona, or whatever, are rooted in reality. I mean, they're exaggerated cartoons of who you really are, but there's a ring of truth to it. So you can basically kind of start just by being yourself and then just add a couple of theatrical layers to it. He'd be perfect for that. Let's talk about a fight that's coming up here in October, right here in Las Vegas, just a couple of weeks away now, at UFC 216. You want to pull up that fight poster, Travis? The rescheduled fight between Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson and Ray Borg is on the card, but it has undercard status, Frank, to Tony Ferguson, the number 2 ranked lightweight and number 7 ranked lightweight, Kevin Lee. They're fighting for an interim lightweight championship. Now, what do you think about this? Because you got the two weight classes, you got the heavier weight class in the main event, but it is an interim title. The flyweight title is a non-interim title, and history is on the line. We've talked about Demetrius Johnson, by virtue of if he can win this fight, breaks Anderson Silva's all-time record for consecutive title defenses in any weight class. Any slight being given to the flyweights here, given the fact that this is a co-main as opposed to a main event? Or do you think maybe it has more to do with uncertainty about Ray Borg and making weight?
I think it just comes down to, again, what's going to sell more? What's going to cause more people to order this pay-per-view, more people to purchase tickets, fly out to Vegas? And I think that, Mighty Mouse has never been one of the stronger pay-per-view sellers. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, Ray Borg, again, like you said, is kind of a question mark. So on whether he's going to make the weight or not. And so scratching it and moving it around, I think then whenever that occurs, people didn't have opportunity to get their tickets refunded to them. If they can keep the main event the same, I think regardless of what happens to the undercard, I don't think it's held under the same strict guidelines.
Oh, if they have to give refunds?
Right.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe it is. The only thing about this fight, though, and don't get me wrong, Tony Ferguson and Kevin Lee is going to be an awesome fight. I'm really looking forward to that fight. But in terms of household names, I mean, neither one of those guys is for the casual fight fan is probably ringing a lot of bells. And I understand that with Mighty Mouse and Borg, there's some built-in challenges there too as far as marketing it as a main event. I don't know. I mean, this fight card, these two fights together, coupled with the fight that the feature bout is Fabricio Verdum and Derek Lewis.
Oh, okay.
I mean, this is turned into a good fight card, but there's just not that one name, that one marquee name that's going to jump out for the casual fan. I don't know. I guess I would let it bother me more. I would think, well, history's on the line here. I think Mighty Mouse deserves to be at the top of this bill, but they did already have Ferguson and Lee as the determined headliner, so you don't want to slight those guys or demote them in any way. And then the other thing is, too, like you just said, if Borg were to have health issues again or weight-cutting issues, it's kind of easier to fade that as the co-main event than it is when the guy's pictures are larger at the top of the poster, and all of a sudden with a couple of days to go, you're having to scrap all that.
No, I agree with you. Everything you said, I'm 100% on board. I mean, I think that the one thing I would add to it is that I think that's just kind of the way the cards are going to have to go from now on. We do so many fights now that it's hard to have. I mean, you only have so many superstar status guys.
Yeah.
It's going to spread out to a lot of cards instead of having that one or two name marquee value to it, to where instead it's like, well, we might not have Conor McGregor fighting, but we have, 5 fights with these 10 people that are all of substance. So you're going to get 2.5 hours worth of good fights, not necessarily maybe one that's going to knock you out of the park, but, that bring you in, but we're going to bring more depth to our roster.
Yeah. I wish I could see that fight card. I'm actually going to be out of town that weekend, so otherwise I would be there. I'm going to be camping with the Foo Fighters that weekend.
I think I'm actually in town.
Oh.
Holy shit.
Well, that'd be a switch.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of hoping that it actually works out that way, just so I can say I'm in town one time when you're out of town.
Yeah, that's right. While you're looking that
I'm in
up,
town.
Oh, damn it.
I get back on the 1st. I don't have to leave again till the 12th.
We could have done a fight companion.
We could have.
Leave it to me.
Look at you.
I got to go rock.
I don't know. Travis will be here now.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, my girl...
You want to phone in?
Yeah, that's what I'll do. Yeah, I'll be the phone-in guest on my
There we go. We'll
podcast
put you up on the board.
time.
I have Travis. Otherwise, I don't know how to turn anything on in here. So
you know what? We could probably actually make that work. I could
FaceTime in.
Yeah, I could FaceTime in from the campground.
The only thing funny is that your Jen will be with you, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It'd be funny if it was, have your Jennifer here. Then.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she could co-host like your Jennifer has. Yeah, that would be funny. Hey, speaking of girls, my girl Adelaide Bird made news again this weekend, and not for a good reason.
When's the last time she was on the news for a good reason?
Oh, Adelaide. She was judging the Gennady Golovkin Canelo Alvarez fight. Now, full disclosure, I've not seen the fight yet.
I'm on board. I haven't.
Okay.
I was landing at the airport as the fight was occurring.
Yeah, sounds like it was a good one.
Yeah. Well, 2 of the 3 judges, I think, had it a draw, or one had a draw, 14-14. I think the other one had it
115-113.
115-113.
Yep, Dave Moretti had it 115-113 for Triple G. Don Trella scored it a 114 draw. So by 2 judges' scorecards,
it's a close
obviously
fight.
It was a close fight.
Then there was Adelaide.
Adelaide didn't see it that way.
Does she have like 8 rounds going to?
Yeah, Adelaide only gave. She scored it 118-110 in favor of Alvarez. So she saw it as a blowout. And, Adelaide is no stranger to controversy. She's been involved in some controversial decisions before, but this one took notice or got the attention of the Nevada State Athletic Commissioner, Bob Bennett, and he said Adelaide might need a break. She might need a little... I believe the way he phrased it was she might need to catch her breath. Yep. So she's still going to be around, but...
maybe you can help explain this to me. The sports books had to still pay people a lot of money, or like they gave them, they're refunded?
Well, if it's a draw, you only win if you bet on the draw.
Because of the decision or something. Or
no, I haven't heard about this. No, because you can bet on a draw.
Right.
So if you bet the draw, you won. If you bet anything else, you lost money.
I saw something where it said, shit. This is what happens when I half read something and then fucking hope that you actually understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's all the information. But I thought that it was interesting that that there's actually some talk about Adelaide not, because she may have otherwise been involved in the UFC 216 fights that we were just talking about. I don't know if she'll be there now. So I did just recently see her, though, at the Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series taping. She was scoring those. But she, there are some controversial judges out there, but I think none more than her that seems to find herself into. I think somebody once said that, if you're a fight official and your name is known, like as a judge, it's never a good sign. Your name is never known because you're just really good at it. That doesn't get talked about a lot. It's always when you're part of a controversial decision.
Now, see, how this reads.
All right, help me out.
The controversial split decision or split draw on Saturday's middleweight championship bout between Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin in Las Vegas, featuring an Arrogus 110 scorecard for Alvarez by Judge Adelaide Bird, left many, including Golovkin and his fans, feeling robbed by the decision. Apparently, they weren't the only ones. Long lines formed at Las Vegas sports books after the decision, with bettors looking for refunds.
Oh.
Including one as large as $500,000 for Golovkin at the MGM. According to ESPN, those who made straight win or lose bets on either fighter were refunded because of the draw. So you don't lose your money, you get a refund.
Really?
I
mean, can't be the way every time.
That's why I had to ask you. Like, I don't know, man. I'm born and raised in Vegas. I don't even know how to play poker.
Right.
I've seen too many people, and I know that the buildings are there for a reason, that no one wins at gambling.
Yes.
So I'm not a gambler. You know what I mean?
Holy cow. Is that right? Maybe that is right. I don't know. I'm a dumb gambling guy too, but I had no idea that basically if you bet straight win or lose. Well, okay, wait a second. I guess if you think about it, if I'm betting straight win, like if I say somebody's going to win a fight and they don't lose it, because a draw, nobody's winning or losing, so you can't really say somebody lost a fight. Okay, well this may be news.
We need somebody. Actually, my buddy Joey.
Yeah.
He makes bets and stuff, and he understands how this shit works.
Okay.
Well, I'll get back to you on this.
Okay. All right. Very good. There's probably
Travis. You don't.
No, not at all. I've never been a gambling guy. I understand some of the odds, but as far as getting a refund and stuff like that, I have
good
no
for
idea.
you. Yeah, the idea of gambling and refund, that just sounds like that.
Well, that's why I saw that headline, and I meant to. I'm like looking at it, going, I don't get that, But okay, I didn't know it because of all your, you cover boxing so much that if you understood that.
No, check with Joey on that, because I'm sure we have some degenerate gambler listeners who are yelling at the're
probably angry as shit.
Their iPhones.
There's a reason why I don't know these things.
Yeah, exactly.
It's safer.
You got your new weapon here on the table. What is that? I noticed you pulled I
was meaning to
produced a weapon.
One amongst many.
Uh-huh.
Check this thing out. It's one of the knives I've got from Hogue. Hogue, not that you'd be familiar with it, but I know Hogue they do grips, handles, accessories to firearms, tactical gear, and so now they're moving into the knife world, making blades. So I got to go down there, speak to Neil Hogue, and I was able to grab a couple nice knives. Couple with the children. I got one for Bella that I'll post a picture of because the handle matches her Glock.
Oh yeah. It's important. You want to coordinate. You don't want to get caught.
She's a girl, so she has to carry a gun and a knife, but I make sure they color coordinate so Mrs. Mir is at least happy that she's stylish.
Yes, exactly.
That's pretty you like that, huh?
Yeah. Now this one it's got a button on it.
Yeah, it's called an automatic. So basically it's has a spring retention on the cam, and so when I press the button, it comes out with
I see.
Me physically having to move it.
Now, is that different than what would be called a switchblade?
I'm not an expert on defining those things. I'm going to plead ignorance.
Okay, in movies, whenever there's a rumble and the sharks are fighting the jets, the switchblade, the blade shoots out the top.
Yeah, I think there's a way that, you know what, now that I have Neil call in and talk to us about this, because I know it's under tension with a cam, but it's not necessarily mechanically assisted. I don't know. It probably is something I need to look into better before I get pulled over.
Well, that's a big, heavy, sturdy blade. Now, are there any legalities that you have to when you mentioned like getting pulled over,
Oh,
are
well,
there
yeah.
certain what knife is okay to carry and what's not? As far as like,
Well,
I guess
Vegas
you don't have a permit for
being
a
an
knife,
open
but-
carry,
Yeah.
as far as handguns and stuff, knives kind of fall into the same thing. Like sometimes, because I like to ride the Harley.
Yeah.
You'll go out to some of the shows where guys are wearing vests, and you'll see a guy with a 8-inch knife on his hip. As long as it's exposed,
Mm-hmm.
you can have a large knife, hunting, camping type knife on you.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't conceal it. So with a pocket knife, I can't conceal it into my pocket all the way and hide it.
Mm-hmm.
If the blade, I think Vegas is like 3¼ inches or 3.5.
So if it's more than about that, it can't be concealed.
Cannot be concealed. But
I
with
see.
this, because it's a clip, I can clip it in my pants from 3 different planes, from in front of me, from the side of me, and from the back of me. If you can still see that I have a knife on me, then it's no longer concealed.
Okay, so that knife, it's got a clip. Okay.
So I can clip it to my pants so you can see it. So
Yeah, like
when I walk into
yeah.
a bar, you can look and say, "Oh, you have a pocket knife on you." So now it's no longer falling under the concealed weapon type.
Oh, interesting. But if you
Now, I guess if you're an asshole,
Yeah.
a police officer can be very, imaginative on how he pulls you over.
Yeah.
And maybe he considers that concealed. I don't know. And then, you can still be arrested and have the knife confiscated. Maybe they hash it out in court.
Uh-huh.
But as long as you're not a dick,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
should be. I mean, and that's pretty much my role with dealing with police officers at all times. Is just
Yeah.
don't be a dick. And
Yeah.
usually they'll work with you. And,
Oh, okay. But I didn't ever actually know that about knives. That there's a, I guess there's more than just a functional reason for that clip. Because
Yeah.
I think about the clip being so you don't have to fish it out of your pocket or something, but it's also to keep it visible.
keeps it visible.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So, like, one way that this would be illegal, and
Mm-hmm.
you can't do this with a knife again. Maybe try. I guess I think it's 3.5 inches
Mm-hmm.
is the length of a blade that it can't be. If it exceeds that, it has to be exposed.
Oh.
If it's smaller than that, you can completely dump it in your pocket, put it in
Mm-hmm.
your waistband, whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Now that's a pretty heavy piece of equipment there.
Yeah,
That's- yeah.
I really like it. In fact, actually, that was one of the reasons my friend Tyler, who's actually with Metro, he knows them. He met Neil and the group, and he made the connection. And so I went down there, and I remember looking online. I was like, "Man, these are really cool knives." I was just going to go pick some up, and then conversation started. Like, well, do you want one? We can work on you working with us in the future with your fights and stuff.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
one thing led to another, and then shake of hands. And now I'm going to try to.
Boy, they're getting in at the right time too, because with you joining Bellator, you can have sponsors over there in Bellator.
Yes, I
Yeah.
don't have to worry about the whole Reebok thing.
Yeah, nicely done. Now, do they make a knife? Because I would want the model that's particularly geared toward opening Amazon packages. That's what I do.
Well, I could show
with
you.
my
You know
knife
what?
mostly.
Next time we're on air, I'll bring the kids' knives in.
Yeah.
Because I got knives for all. I can bring a knife home for Bella and
Mm-hmm.
not for Cage and Ronan. So I'll show you the knives I got them, which is very similar.
Yeah, I think they're called out the front is what they're, or out the top, I think is what they are. Maybe I'll pull it up. I'll keep it off screen, but I'll pull it up. And,
Up the top is the spring loaded that way.
Yeah.
The kids' knives are actually just regular folding, pocket knives.
Yeah. Yeah.
More your speed, probably.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if you really need to get into an Amazon package, though.
Yeah. Some Amazon packages are tougher than others, depending on how they're shipped and where they come from.
You know what other kind of knives they make? Dive knives.
Yes, we got informed about that.
I got one coming, I think.
Now, what's a dive knife? What would that? That's when you go to a really seedy bar. That's like a real hole in the wall,
That's
right?
what this one's meant for.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, you mean
something's-
actual diving?
Yep.
Okay. So on it, because Travis lives part of his life underwater, under the sea, like SpongeBob. And when what do you need what would a dive knife be used for? Give us some ideas.
I mean, out there on a lot of the shipwrecks, there's a lot of old fishing line because we're out there diving to see stuff.
Yeah.
It happens to be a lot of fish on it too, so a lot of people are fishing, and there's old fish line tangled up, old rope, stuff like that. So I mean, if you need to cut something to get through something, or I mean, you get tangled up in something, you need a couple different cutting devices to get free.
Okay. Are there ever any underwater muggings where you might need a? It may be hard.
But
to
if you're out in
mug.
the open sea, you need,
Yeah.
fucking sharks and shit.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
And like diving with Cowboy, one of you runs out of air.
Right. That's right.
Dead men tell no tales.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a dive knife. I'm sure they have them for hunting and things like that. Are there any other particular things I'm not thinking of you'd have a knife for? What else would you have a?
Well, a knife is one of the first tools man made. That,
Well, no, but I mean like a particular model. Like they have a dive model. I'm sure they have.
well, they
like
have regular, like a sheath knife that's a
Yeah.
fixed blade.
Yeah.
They had some very nice knives in that area. And then actually they had some pretty cool hatchets and that had a really phenomenal retention mechanism as far as holding the hatchet to your hip.
Oh yeah.
So where it was basically almost like, I think it was a magnetic stamp in the middle.
Yeah.
So it was cut out in the middle of the blade, and you can stick the hatchet to your hip on the holster of it and just turn the dial on it, and it would stay, or you can fold it halfway and then be able to pull it on and off easily if you're out in the woods working.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Here's some of their stuff. You know what I might be interested in is a battle axe. Do they have those?
This is about as big as I get, I think.
Okay. That was
But
the
you see how the
hatchet?
middle's cut
Yeah.
out?
Yeah.
So,
right.
So
yeah.
then the holster you could put on your hip basically would have the other opposite of that sticking out, and you could just basically attach it. Whereas in the past, you would have to drop it through a holster,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's not as convenient getting it in and out.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I'll just carry my tomahawk. As long as that's shorter than 3.5 inches, right? Or no? That's probably not going to be shorter.
No, but if it's hanging off your hip, you're good.
I got to keep my tomahawk visible.
No, it's not-
Keep it
well,
on my hip.
Sticking
Wow,
that
there's
in
a
your,
lot of choices.
sticking that in your pocket might be a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. People will think I'm just happy to see them. Wow, there's a lot of options there.
Yeah, see there, you see the sheath?
Yeah.
There's the holster
yeah.
for it.
Okay.
So now it just comes off and on, and it sits there easily. So if you're using it as you're working, you can put it on and off your hip, but then you can turn the dial there, and then it locks it to where it's not going to fall off. So if you're hiking through the woods, you don't have to worry about any brush pulling it off your leg.
Okay. Well, congratulations. That's a perfect sponsor for you. That's a perfect partnership for you to embark upon.
I think I'm working just for knives.
Yeah, right.
Knives and equipment. Like, how much do they pay you? I'm like, nothing. I just want equipment.
Well, not all partnerships are as seamless. For more on that, we turn our attention toward the UN today. Did you see this? Our President Donald Trump was speaking to the UN. Go ahead and play the audio of Donald Trump addressing the North Korea situation.
Can I tell you real quick,
at the
pause it for
UN.
1 second?
Pause it.
I don't know why, but it's like chalkboard, nails on a chalkboard when he holds his hand like this.
Oh, when he does the OK pinch?
Yeah, or just like even just his finger
Yeah.
is doing the stuff. Yeah, like some of his manual or like his nonverbal communication expression, hand signals, and speaking with his hands. It just looks just almost effeminate, just the way he does it, and I can see that being like some old nun at a Catholic, school, screaming and yelling at the front of the classroom with the way he holds his hands. It doesn't seem very masculine.
He needs like a Hogue tomahawk to hold.
That would help me out.
Yeah, to gesture with.
Yeah, just some of his hand. I don't know what it is with me visually.
Yeah.
Somebody who's a psychologist can help break this down, but it's very,
Oh my gosh,
very
yeah.
feminine.
Yeah.
The way he moves, and he's a man, so I mean, not that I have anything against women. Women, move a different way than a male moves, body and stuff, and just. Ugh.
Let's give it a listen here.
And ballistic missiles threatens the entire world with unthinkable loss of human life.
Talking about North Korea.
It is an outrage that some nations would not only trade with such a regime, but would arm, supply, and financially support a country that imperils the world with nuclear conflict. No nation on earth has an interest in seeing this band of criminals arm itself with nuclear weapons and missiles. The United States has great strength and patience.
There's your hand gesture.
But if it is forced to defend itself or its allies, we will have no choice but to totally destroy North Korea. Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself and for his regime. The United States is ready, willing, and able, but hopefully this will not be necessary. That's what the United Nations is all about. That's what the United Nations is for. Let's see how they do.
All right, so a couple of things here. First of all, what do you think about the idea of a U.S. president saying in those terms, if we're threatened, we will absolutely destroy another country?
I like it.
Do you?
I agree with it. I think that being a military leader has to be strong, and the head of our country, I think that there has to be simple terms and conversation and dialogue, because the common man is going to hear what he says. And I get that the finality or the details of this conversation is going to happen in a boardroom with a bunch of people that make these decisions. That can be more rhetoric that's more compromising, understanding, and, you know, where more the political game would occur. But as far as just that, I think that's correct. I mean, the fact that North Korea keeps firing off and showing that they want to arm themselves, I would have been a fan if we'd have blown their asses up fucking 2 weeks ago.
Well, so take a couple of things into consideration here. If we absolutely destroy North Korea, you're talking about a nuclear weapon, all right? What does that say to South Korea and Japan? Those are our allies. So the problem is we need them as allies. I don't have a problem with saying to the bad person, screw you, essentially. But if that bad person is going to be able to, in Donald Trump's words, absolutely destroy South Korea, or affect Japan for that matter, while we're in the process of destroying him, it does send a message that we're not considering their fate, doesn't it?
Well, I don't think it has to be. I mean, I'm not an expert on the different ballistic capabilities of our nuclear armament, but I mean, we dropped a bomb back in the 40s twice on Japan, and all of Japan wasn't destroyed. There's definitely cities that were destroyed, Nagasaki and Hiroshima. I'm sure that there's a way to blow the shit out of North Korea without exactly completely destroying. I mean, what's the blast radius?
Oh, no, I'm not saying we will. What I'm saying is when we fire on them, they will fire on South Korea and possibly Japan.
But we're doing maneuvers and have support there with our military showing that whatever shoots out of North Korea, we're going to fire it out of the sky.
But we don't have that kind of built-up presence in South Korea. I mean, right now, unless we're going to talk about a race where we're moving a bunch of stuff over there.
I thought it was already there, to be honest with you. I'd be very surprised if it isn't, to be honest.
No, I mean, we don't have, that's why it's like a demilitarized
Aren't we doing,
zone.
I just saw that thing where, but on the peninsula outside of South Korea, we're doing military exercises.
Yes.
And that's actually what Kim Jong-il or Jong-un, whatever, is now crying that those are our our posturing of aggression is the fact that we have our Navy and come on, we have the number one Navy in the world.
Well, those are joint exercises that we've been doing for some time with our allies. He always gets upset about it, but I haven't seen any account that says that if the United States and North Korea started firing nuclear weapons back and forth, that North Korea couldn't decimate large portions of South Korea in the process. Because otherwise, what the hell? I mean, if nobody else is going to be affected, here's what I'm saying. When he talks about, like, for example, when he talks about why would any country want to do business with them, yes, at face value that makes sense, except when you consider that might be the thing that ultimately contains them, is the fact that they rely so heavily on countries like Japan. And so if they get cut off, they may not be able to survive. So a country that, like Japan or China, and we certainly need them to do more in the process. Yeah. But if they're able to threaten to cut off your livelihood, that's the thing that might ultimately make the most sense. Because this business of, the posturing...
it gets the people to turn on you.
But they don't hear about this. No, I see what you're saying. You're saying if they were actually cut off.
The other of Pyrong City,
yeah.
The other elite, I mean, let's be honest, it isn't one guy that's running everything. There has to be an elite class of supporters that he has that at this point are probably also trying to ride along because they want to save their own asses.
Right.
The poor ever come up, they're going to completely turn that country inside out, and they're going to get vengeance on him and all the elites. But if you starve, it'd be like us having a household right now. If all of a sudden I'm the leader of the house and there's, it's World War III outside and I have us all trapped in here and all of a sudden I start pissing off the people that we do trade with and they're like, fuck this guy. And I'm like, well, guys, we're not going to have water now because, and they're like, well, who do they hate? Well, they hate me, but fuck them. They're like, I mean, how quick are you? I mean, how soon between you're looking at your wife starving, you're looking at your kids starving, you're like, it's this motherfucker that's pissing everybody off. How quick to maybe they have an internal revolt?
Well, that would be great. That would be the ideal way to have it happen, is from within.
But don't you think that's caused by constriction of causing misery?
Sanctions? Sure, but we're doing sanctions right now. I mean, there are sanctions in place. See, what he's talking about, this is not a process of sanctions. What he's talking about is all-out warfare, and the problem with a leader talking like this is, so far, up until this point, this has been a one-sided style of conversation on the part of Kim Jong-un and his father before that, which is all the maniacal saber-rattling and all the rest of that. I mean, the civilized world looks at that as provocative. But now we've got a U.S. president, somebody who's the leader of the free world, that wants to go toe-to-toe on that kind of open mic improv, like this business calling him Rocket Man.
Yeah.
I mean, that is not the way a world leader speaks. And it's not that, here's the thing, it's not that, it's just that no other president we've had up to that point has been smart enough to conceive of this approach, and now we've got the guy who, had the light bulb go off like nobody else has. I think this is somebody who is not prepared to lead on a world stage.
There's more enemies of the country than just Kim Jong-un. And I think...
You talking about the U.S.?
Yeah, for the U.S.
Yes.
We have other enemies out there, enemies we aren't aware of. And I think sometimes taking a stance on somebody who's willing to call you out can make for a more peaceful future. It's like this. Here, okay. Mm-hmm. If we're sitting at a bar right now, and I look over and we see a guy who is obviously an asshole who's looking for a fight, I'll let a little bit of let's try to talk him out of it. Let's maybe try to figure out what the problem is. But I am very quick to a point where I'm like, all right, look, you know what? We just got to fuck the guy up. Mm-hmm. That's bottom line is I'm going to choke him unconscious. Mm-hmm. And then that'll be the next warning that, like, okay, I did that to you without hitting you. The next step is I'm going to start breaking bones on you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to now violently control the situation, because if not, then, like, hey, this guy acts up. Now he sees people disrespecting me. Now this guy feels like it can happen. Who knows how many more enemies I'm going to have now? Whereas I don't think I should jump the gun and quickly jump to violence. But I think there's an appropriate response, and sometimes in our country, we're into this very passive mindset of just like, well, you got to understand where they're coming from. I'm like, dude, I get it. I'm very much about being strategic in a situation, but there is very much of a great strategic opportunity to use violence. And use violence, and if you're going to be violent, fuck people up, man. Just, you got to go full steam ahead.
But there's a difference between using it and talking a lot about using it up to that point. So I know exactly what you're talking about, and I'm with you on that. But see, to me, that's what you're describing in what would be your own hypothetical case, would be exuding an image of silent strength. Like, the drunkard who's going to be mouthing off and creating the scene and basically just insisting on a fight. Right. Yeah, you're going to come to a point where you might have to be physical with them, but you're not going to be matching the bravado drunken slurp to that point. So what
you think that's more of what's occurring here?
So
I thought it was just a warning.
But not when you call someone Rocket Man. Not when that's a taunt.
So you feel you think he made the insult, made it too emotional.
Yeah, it's a taunt. Remember when...
Yeah, I mean, okay. I mean, you're right. Probably it's equivalent of... I am notorious for this shit. Mm-hmm. You know how many times I've been in an argument with Mrs. Mir, and I love debating. I love arguing with people.
I do too.
Fuck, it's great, right? It's fucking fighting without fucking hitting each other, right? Okay, but when I see the shot, right, and I'm like, there's the coup de grace. I have it. You know what I mean? Like, I got her. I wheeled her in, blindside or whatever strategy I used to now corner her into a position, and I have fucked it up, because all of a sudden I'll sit there and say something stupid or insulting in my partying, and this is why you're fucking not smart enough to figure. I'm like, oh, why did I? And
Yeah.
now the argument, I completely just lost it.
Yeah.
Because now it's like, well, what you're saying? I'm stupid. I'm like, no, I'm just no. Oh, fuck.
And now
it's not about that.
Right. Now we're not even dealing with the actual issue.
No.
It's an unforced error. That was an unforced error on your part.
Ambition and getting a little too personal attached to the argument.
I mean, just ask yourself this question. As long as North Korea has been they're, you call them a nuclear threat now, on the verge of being a nuclear threat, whatever, as long as they have been known as an unstable regime, and for that matter, any other country that's a nuclear threat that's an adversary, name the president, Democrat or Republican, that you feel like would not have retaliated if America had been attacked. I think any of them would have.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So what I'm saying is you don't have to join the circus. You don't have to put on the bravado and cut a pro wrestling promo in order to be perceived as strong. And I'm not just talking
if he just would have edited it down, like, I would have been okay with him removing the Rocket Man statement. But if he comes out there and goes, look, these are the sanctions. If you continue moving forward, we're going to kill every woman and child in your fucking, in fucking North Korea.
The implication is still the same, but here's the thing, and especially when you're at the United Nations, the message is you are alone, North Korea. The rest of the civilized world will not tolerate this. We will band together. We will work together. We will, and yeah. So everybody knows that
fire and brimstone statement isn't too bad, though, right?
But
come on, man.
For what? For show. This is
for the Americans to sit there and go, yeah, man, this fucking guy just tossed a missile over us in Guam.
But that gets to my point. You know what I think is happening?
I've warned people before I choke them unconscious.
I think. Oh yeah, okay, but
I'll be like, look, man, if you're looking for a fight, I'm your guy. Let's just fight.
But see that there's a difference between that and hey, you tiny T-shirt wearing douchebag.
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
I don't even get into the insulting.
That's what this is. See,
but I'll call people out and be like, you are this close.
Right.
One more word, I'm just going to fuck you up.
Yeah, but that is a diplomatic approach. That's what we do because it's still saying.
But I'm saying I'm going to fuck you up.
You are, but in a diplomatically confident sounding way. Like, it's no mystery that we have the most nuclear arms, that we are the most, we're the strongest presence, all that. And that's what I'm saying. When you're known as that, it's like when everybody knows you are, you don't have to prove that you are. So it'd be
the equivalent of me going, I'm a badass. I'd fuck you up.
you know.
That'd be kind of that. You're right. That doesn't even sound right.
Two-time UFC heavyweight champion.
No, that doesn't even sound right. Even speaking about it hypothetically, that would make me cringe.
Right.
Like if you were sitting there going, do you know who this? Stop! Don't do that. I hate that.
Right. And it's because that's the thing. And the people who know, and then the guy who's jumping around like he's got little man syndrome's got something to prove. And Kim Jong-un has little man syndrome. He's got something to prove. I mean, he's doing that. And the way that the rest of the world reacts to that, what we're doing is by doing all this and putting on this show, we're breaking from that, and we're giving into a little bit of those theatrics. Yeah. And so what I think this is, and you said it a second ago, this is for some segment of American gratification here. I think there are people who are entertained by this. I think that there are a lot of.
Oh, I'm getting yelled at.
Okay.
Oh, it's that time.
No unforced errors here. Okay. Whatever you're about to get yelled at for. Yeah. Strategy.
Okay. So any kind of a badass I sounded like?
Yeah.
Look how quickly Mrs. Meir just. I'm like, all right, honey, I'm coming.
Sorry, hold on. Getting the text. But the more that I think about this, I think there are segments of the population that they voted to be entertained, whether or not they realized it. They voted for, they want the ending to the Chuck Norris movie kind of stuff with that sort of bravado.
And I know how you feel about Chuck Norris movies.
Yeah, I like Chuck Norris though as a person, interestingly enough. But I think that there's something to this where it's like it's for a domestic gratification. It's like people see this as entertaining without seeing the broader picture of the message that you're sending to the rest of the world. All right.
Well, we don't have to end if you want. You can have Aaron step in. You can talk to him for a minute. I have to go.
Oh yeah, where are you headed? What are we doing?
Okay, look, the kids at school that the school that my kids go to, I think sometimes I don't know. We're doing something like where the other 6th grade parents all meet each other or something. I don't know. All I know is my wife's dressing up and I have to put on a pair of jeans. So.
Okay, you have to put on your best
I
phone
can't
booth
wear
fighting
flip-flops.
T-shirt.
So
to the parental meetup.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So I'm gonna go mingle with other parents of 6th graders at my kids' school.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, you know what? If you think about it, I mean, you'll just have to spend a little time talking to all the other professional cage fighter dads.
Yeah. It's amazing how many have kids to go there.
Talk to there. Yeah. Yeah. All right, very good. Well, let's do that. What we're going to do is we're going to do a international satellite Skype hookup, I think, for our next show, because you're going to be over in England, but I'll be here in the studio bunker, so you guys who like to watch the episodes on our Phone Booth Fighting YouTube channel will not be disappointed. Frank, go ahead and make mention. Tell everybody about the Amazon banner.
One of the easiest ways to support the show, if you make sure that whenever you do your online shopping, click on the banner through our website, and that way you get brought into Amazon and any of your wants and needs that you shop for, and at no additional price or cost to you. We get a small percentage back here at the show that'll help us with the quality of the production and for travel and whatever cases to bring you a better quality show.
The Amazon banner is right there on the front of phoneboothfighting.com. Click through that to do your Amazon shopping and help us out. If you look us up on iTunes, Phone Booth Fighting MMA, give us the 5 stars. That is very beneficial to us as well. And if you have a moment, write a favorable line or two. Tell a friend. The Phone Booth Fighting podcast is available in the aforementioned iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Stitcher Radio, or wherever podcasts are available. All the previously aired and archived episodes are right there on the front of phoneboothfighting.com. One last piece of business. Frank, tell everybody how they can follow the show on social media.
Facebook and Instagram, it's Phone Booth Fighting, and Snapchat, Twitter, just Phone Booth Fight.
For Frank Mir, for Travis over there producing so competently as he always does, I'm Richard Hunter. We'll see you right back here next time on Phone Booth Fighting.